I did hear at the dinner last night that you had a really full, interesting and engaging day yesterday, starting with what I understand was a really good debate about actually how you work together across services, including with the ambulance service. And I hope some of the ideas from that I can touch on this morning and you can develop particularly over the period of time ahead. Now, over the last 6 months, you will have heard me say on a number of occasions at various things I've been at, and in periods where I've come and seen some of you at your local service, that the publication of the government's response to the night review is, and the phrase I've been using is, that it's imminent. And I can tell you today that it is still imminent. I was hoping to launch it today, but I saw Kay at an LGA event just 2 weeks ago, and she made it clear to me that actually launch it on the day we're here, when you haven't had a chance to digest it, wouldn't be the right thing to do, and therefore I thought, well, I'll hold it off just a little bit longer to make sure exactly what Kay says. But as I say, I will say a few words about the night review in a few moments. But I do think one of the things that's interesting, looking at the title of your conference and hearing a bit about what was discussed yesterday, is actually what Sir Ken has done. He's got a debate going about where things are moving and what the journey of travel is. But I'll come back to that shortly, because I was pleased to hear about the sessions you had yesterday. Some of those conversations, some of them I know were quite vibrant, and that's a good thing, because it does mean we can flesh out and start to have that serious conversation about what that journey of travel is. And I do know that many of you have asked me on many occasions and have made it quite clear that you want to see that government response to the night review about what that journey of travel will be. But I need to be really clear about this. As interesting as a piece of paper we may publish will be, the response to the night review and the journey of travel has to live outside of a document that's got my signature at the end of it. It's got to be about what you want and what you can deliver for the future of your fire service. And it will be about better collaboration across services with blue lights and other public bodies. It will be about more flexible resourcing, such as the increasing number of on-call firefighters. It'll be about better procurement, something I know many of you are already, if not all of you, fully committed to. Now, it has been an interesting year since I last spoke with you on that snowy couple of days in Brighton, where some of you I know struggled to actually get there in the opening day or so. We've had better weather this year. But we've seen some interesting events and some challenging things over the last year. We've had the first national firefighter strike in about a decade, and a major flooding incident that has affected huge swathes of our country. And I saw some of the devastation that leaves behind just yesterday down in Somerset. And it has tested our fire and rescue service and our authorities. And while there are important lessons, and there will be important lessons to be learned from the preparation for the events, I really do think it's important that we continue to put on record what the Prime Minister has said, what our Secretary of State has said, and that is how fantastically well our fire authorities and our fire and rescue teams have reacted not just to the industrial action, but particularly to that mutual aid and everything we've seen happen over the last couple of months with its tragic weather conditions. I was really pleased to see that through the industrial action there was pretty close to business as usual in terms of the service we provide. And where gaps were spotted, services were able to train up and use resilient staff to fill them pretty much immediately. And I want to just commend and say a huge thanks to all of those who used innovative measures to boost that resilience. I was hugely impressed with the fire and rescue authorities who looked outside of the box in terms of how they improved their resilience. And I particularly want to commend those firefighters and support workers who continue to work and protect their communities. I did receive letters from some who, despite pressure they claim they had from officials, union officials, felt that protecting their communities was the right thing and actually the only logical thing they could do. They do deserve, even if they are anonymous, our profound gratitude and thanks. Now, a further sustained challenge to the continuity of service has been provided and tested by these severe weather and major flooding incidents that began in early December last year, continued right through the first couple of months of this year. Let's make no mistake, as some of you in the room will know, are still being a challenge for us in parts of the country even today. fire and rescue authorities from Northumberland through to Kent, from Great Yarmouth in my own constituency in the surge of early December, through to the tip of Cornwall, have worked with their partners to protect people in their communities from the potential devastation of an East Coast tidal surge initially, where with evacuating homes, sending in boats and rafts to rescue people from flooded properties, through the groundwater issues and the flooding we've seen across the south of the country. More than 1,000 fully equipped firefighters from across the country have assisted with the flood response over December, January, February and now into March. They've done an amazing, an incredible job in working shifts to reduce water levels and to help communities with the flooding. And I've been really humbled to see some of this firsthand when I've been travelling around, not just the recovery work that we're now moving into, and the fire service is playing a big role in that as well, I know. But it's some of the work that was done both through that tidal surge on the ground and keeping people safe, giving people reassurance, sometimes just by being there, being able to see that uniform and our equipment out there gave people that extra bit of reassurance that somebody was there to care for them and worry about them and help them. And I want to just take a moment to really praise the great work that the fire and rescue teams and our authorities, who in many cases, councillors and officers led absolutely from the front across the country into supporting not just their communities through sustained flooding event, but also supporting each other across other fire and rescue authority areas. All of our teams should be congratulated on the professionalism they've shown throughout the period, and our thanks given to those who worked so tirelessly right through all of this time and are continuing to do so. Now, while your response rightly did grab and continues to grab headlines, is the work that we do on prevention and protection that I've said before is absolutely the bread and butter, that front line of the service moving forward. Fire calls, fire deaths and injuries have fallen significantly in the last decade, and I believe this trend can and hopefully will and should continue on a downward spiral. You play a massively important role, it goes without saying, in achieving this. And I know there will be more that we can do to prevent fires and many other emergencies from occurring in the first place. This means that fire prevention should not be a second or soft option when it comes to looking for savings. There are efficiencies to be found, but the determination to address fire and accident risks must remain and stay absolutely at the key focus and forefront of every authority's activity. And while I know many of you are taking great steps in reducing the number of false alarms and dealing with that and addressing that problem, it does still account for over half of all calls. So there is still a challenge for us going forward. That is why in the government, in partnership with fire and rescue authorities, continues to run, we will continue to run, the Fire Kills campaign. And I have to say, bear in mind we are now comfortably into March. It is too good an opportunity to not just remind everybody that the 30th of March is looming large and it's clock change day. So the tick-tock test, your smoke alarms, will be featuring again, and I would ask you all to persuade as many people as possible to follow your example. Our latest analysis shows that at least the people, you in this room will know this as well, if not better than me, you're at least 4 times more likely to die from a fire in your home if there is no working smoke alarm. And sadly, more than half of the people still dying are aged over 65. So we're encouraging everyone to test, not just for themselves, but for their friends, their family, or their neighbours who need help. And this year it's Mother's Day too. So what better way to show that we care? Please spread that Fire Kills message. Spread it via all the channels and opportunities that you have. In October, your support for that campaign was fantastic. It went through websites, it went through reminders, through tweets, press releases, and many other ways. 1 in 8 households tested. We should be aiming to do even better this month. But in the coming year, we want to continue to explore how we can reduce the number of deaths amongst older people. Look at what other campaigns we should be pushing forward and including in our simple test message. What local services could help us in testing and make sure that older people have enough smoke alarms installed to give them the best chance of escaping a deadly fire? And why do some people never test at all? Together we need to make testing smoke alarms a regular, straightforward, common sense, automatic thing that we do, and to be installing them on every level, to make it the right thing to do and the social norm. Now, turning to my opening remarks around Sir Ken Knight, I do want to take this opportunity to, even though he's not here this morning, he left late last night, to thank him and put on record again my huge thanks for the work he did in pulling his review together, a thought-provoking review. Many of you will know Sir Ken. He is an expert in his own field, and I was delighted with the breadth and scope that he took within his review. And I'm grateful for him for actually starting a debate, getting this conversation going, and actually outlining some of the challenges and opportunities that are facing the fire and rescue service in the years ahead. Sir Ken has outlined, to an extent in his review, a journey of travel. He's thrown out a challenge for radical and rapid transformation in line with public expectations and desires for the future. And in terms of waiting for his response, I would just gently point out you've not yet heard a single government minister of any type actually disagree with a single thing in his report. So you don't necessarily need to wait for us to tell you what to do with your service. So rather than waiting for government to publish a piece of paper, you as leaders, and many of you I know are already doing this, can get on with moving your service forward and delivering for our communities for the future. And let's not pretend that central government have all the answers. You will know what works best for your communities, how you can take the ideas from Sir Ken's review and make them relevant to your fire service and deliver them in the right way to be able to provide that sustainability and that protection and that cover for your community going forward. Let alone the fact that when we do tell you what to do, you tell us we shouldn't be telling you what to do. So then to find you asking us to tell you what to do through the response to the report always seems slightly ironic to me. And given the theme of today's conference, it's quite clear that that conversation and those thoughts are already happening. And we as government will support you. We've made clear already, without having to do a written report in response to Sir Ken's review, that we will support you through making that kind of transformation, starting with the £75 million transformation fund. That's available to fire and rescue authorities on a bid-for basis to drive transformation. 30 million of that fund is for resource funding, and 45 million is a capital fire efficiency fund. Both will be allocated on a bid-for basis so that we can make sure that that money is going where it makes and can make the most difference. I would encourage all of you to think long and hard about how you can bid for something really innovative, something genuinely transformational within that fund. I'm particularly keen to see bids that encourage some of the key themes from Sir Ken's review. Greater collaboration, initiatives that support improving local delivery, initiatives that increase on-call firefighter arrangements, innovations that prioritise prevention and protection, and ones which promote asset transformation. And while I'm not yet in a position to publish that piece of paper of the government's response to the Knight Review, I thought I would take this morning to just give you an outline of my own personal thinking about the direction and journey of travel as we go forward. None of this should be a great surprise. It's all of the things I've been talking about since Sir Ken published his review. And my thinking, and what I'll outline now, picks up on just some of the key challenges he mentioned. One thing is for sure, fire and rescue in 10 years' time will be very different to the fire and rescue service we saw 10 years ago. The fall in calls means that there is now a great opportunity to significantly review both the number of on-call firefighters and on-call stations with a view to putting in place more modern and flexible arrangements. On-call firefighters are a vital and an important part of how authorities deliver services, and in times where call-outs are falling, you as leaders will recognise the enormous potential they can offer where they are relevant and appropriate for you. Can you really, in today's current economic climate, and with the changing face of what the service is dealing with, can you really afford not to review every single station and identify if that station or one of its pumps could be devoted to on-call activity or something else that changes and transforms the service? Or, in too many areas, will we just keep on doing the same thing while hoping for a different outcome instead of transforming the services that we provide in both urban and rural areas? So Ken highlighted the importance of collaboration with other local services as well in helping fire and rescue authorities to transform the way that they run and the way they can meet the challenges of our communities and the changing needs of our communities of the future. I agree with this. Local collaboration between local services, including fire, police, ambulance and other agencies, is the future of public service delivery. Within our local government family, we're showing this with the Better Care Fund, bringing local government and the health service together. We should not be limited by the past and the traditional ways of working in a changing and modern future. I want to be in a position to award you that transformation funding I've just mentioned for innovative bids, particularly in this area. I believe that the relationship with the other emergency services is one of the most untapped routes we have and needs to be pursued at all levels. The best fire and rescue authorities are already beginning to collaborate with other agencies, including police and ambulance, and local authorities, through co-location of stations and services, sharing back office functions, including some senior staff, and through co-responding and joining up on service delivery. They're achieving better outcomes for our members of the public and are getting more for their resources in the process. Many of you will have heard some of these before, but I think it is important to just give a few examples. In Hampshire, fire, police and the council are joining up back office services, and through doing so expect to be saving around £4 million a year. In Merseyside, fire and police are working together to create a new combined command and control centre, saving them around £3.5 million and allowing them to share information and expertise and ultimately provide a more integrated emergency service. I know other areas have moved forward with call centre plans already and are starting to do so now, going for support and transport. And I was fascinated to hear more about how this is working in practice just last Thursday at the conference in North Lincolnshire. This is an extension of their existing excellent work, and they've been awarded £500,000 through last year's Transformational Challenge Award. Northamptonshire working closer together between the police and the fire service. And other areas are looking at other types of innovation they can take forward too. But progress across the country with this agenda is patchy. And I want to make sure that every authority and every community has a chance to benefit from real collaboration. This good practice needs to become the standard practice, and the public need to have an emergency service to be able to consider collaboration first in all that they do, so that we get a real joined-up approach. Alongside the Transformation Fund is, of course, as well, they have the Home Office's new Police Innovation Fund. As some of you have already received funding from the Home Office, from 2014-15, the next Police Innovation Fund will also incentivise transformation, collaboration and other innovative delivery approaches, including greater collaboration across forces and other emergency services. I want to see all of our emergency services working together to deliver a world-class service that matches the needs of today and is preparing and ready for tomorrow's community's needs. Collaboration really is the future for local public services. Now, another area that Sir Ken's report highlighted as being in need of greater collaboration was procurement. Sir Ken found widespread duplication of effort in the design, commissioning and evaluation of fire-specific products, and suggested that fire and rescue authorities should focus their efforts on improving procurement in these areas. Our authorities should, without doubt, be exploring collaborative procurement with other fire and rescue authorities and emergency services in order to drive efficiencies, especially given that the requirements of individual fire and rescue authorities across England are not different enough to warrant going it alone. We are publishing this week the Fire and Rescue Procurement Aggregation and Collaboration Report, a joint research project with the Chief Fire Officers Association. That report found that there is a compelling case for collaborative procurement. The The sector itself currently spends around £127 million every year on fire and rescue specific products, such as clothing and vehicles. Collaboration alone, our report shows, could save at least £18 million. In addition, if products were standardised more, it's likely that even bigger savings could be realised and further potential efficiencies, not least if non-fire specific goods and services were brought together with other public service bodies. So 12 months on, from my last speech with you, we have a lot to celebrate. Our collective success in making our communities even safer from fire. The key role that the fire and rescue authorities have played in responding to the worst floods since 2007 and in many parts of the country on record, and successful business continuity arrangements during severe weather and industrial action mean that all of our authorities have a year they should be very proud of. We've also got a lot to look forward to, including the opportunities presented by transformation, the chance to be the people, the organisations, the authorities that are shaping the future of the fire service and the safety of our communities in the years ahead. I would encourage you to use that success you've had in the last year as a motivation to tap into the opportunities for reform and to take steps that will make your fire and rescue authorities more efficient and more able to meet the demands of our communities in the future. I hope you have a good rest of the conference. Thank you.